The Supreme Court panel of experts appointed to look into the allegations made by the Hindenburg Group have given a clean chit to the Adani Group. That report is now public. Prima facie, there is no violation by the Adani Group. There is no manipulation of share prices by the Adani Group. There is no investment laws which have been violated. All information has been shared. I'll just go through a few other points. SEBI has not found fault with information that the Adani Group gave. There is no proof of illegal investments made by the Adani Group. After the Hindenburg report, the Adani Group tried to give relief to investors, and that there needs to be a probe on how short sellers profited from the Hindenburg report. This is all a clean chit for the Adani Group at a time when there has been this intense political back and forth in this country, and this call for a joint parliamentary probe, all at a time when this is being investigated at two levels. One at the level of the joint parliament, one at the level of the Supreme Court appointed panel of experts. That's the report we are now talking about. There is also a SEBI process which is taking place. SEBI will be presenting its report, or there will be a hearing in a couple of months from now. Eventually there will be a SEBI report as well. So there are two elements, but that's not stopped this intense political back and forth by several parties, something which has affected shareholder wealth, which has affected reputations. It has resulted in the erosion of shareholder wealth, of the value of companies, is what I meant to say, and that remains a huge concern. Interestingly, and we're going to be playing out an interview in a little while from now of a senior Mauritian minister who I spoke to earlier on, who said that a lot of the allegations which pertain to the Adani Group are false allegations. But before I get to that, let me go back to Manish Bariyar, who joins us. Manish, what in your mind is in a nutshell, is what this Supreme Court appointed expert panel saying? What exactly are they saying?
See, first of all, I would like to, just tell our viewers that it is good that, the Supreme Court appointed this panel, because there was a very eminent panel which government had also suggested. But since it is a Supreme Court panel consisting of Mr. Nandan Nilekani, Mr. Sapre and retired, it will settle down the dust. That is one. But in nutshell, it is telling that the basis on which the entire Hindenburg report was there, it is basically bogus. It was a wrong basis on which they alleged about Adani and Adani Group of companies. So it completely quashes their entire standing on which. And I'm sure that, Adani will take this entire matter to the courts of US, and they would have now a very strong case, and they'll be, much more confident in dealing with this. I think, what has happened is that we are a developing nation. There is a certain image associated with it, and Hindenburg has taken advantage of that. They understand that, Indian businesses are done in a certain way, which is not the Western way. And, our country, the people of our country, as well as the world, has to understand that every country has a different culture and ways of doing business. And some of these, which are very widely accepted in India as pretty much normal, they are not acceptable in West, and vice versa. I think Hindenburg very intelligently used those loopholes in our system, which is looked at by the investors. They understand that whatever comes from US is given a lot of value and importance. And I think that Congress party also, as well as many of the opposition parties, they fell in bait. Maybe they were waiting for such an opportunity. And I think the deadly combination was when political parties took a stand. Had political parties not taken that kind of a stand, I think the investors' wealth would have, by and large, they would have been protected. But because they went after it, I think it became a double whammy. Okay. A lot of learnings from this. But I think at the cost of Adani Group of companies, unfortunately. But for future, I'm sure that the investors of our country would be not so easily swayed by any kind of a report which is going to come. And let me tell you, Vishnu, for the viewers, for the benefit of the viewers, that, Hindenburg has tried to do that with China, but Chinese people are pretty nationalist, it seems. Their politicians, their investors, they did not really fell for this bait. Unfortunately, in our country, we panicked. And you can almost say that, we were, as a nation, we were at a fault in terms of the way we reacted, the political class, the business class. Right. And there is a need for, there is a need for some kind of sense of parity out there.
Okay, Manish, half a second. I just want to go across now to Neeraj Shah, the executive editor of BQ Prime. Neeraj, you know what I think would be interesting to do is let's just go through point by point a couple of the observations which have been made and then just explain to our viewers what this means. Firstly, the SEBI was fully aware of a change in share price and that the Adani Group did not influence share price. The significance of these 2 points.
Yeah, Vishnu, for almost every market participant, and I'm approaching this purely from an equity investor's perspective or a market's perspective, for every market participant, any mention of price manipulation would be a big concern. What you've just said, essentially to my mind, aside of the fact that the SEBI said that there is no regulatory issue, is the biggest takeaway from this note, because if they're saying that there is no price manipulation, it takes away all concerns around the group's involvement, if you will, in any kind of price movement that may have happened before or after. And therefore, to my mind, what you just said is arguably the biggest thing that has come out of this report. And most market participants, I must say, have also gone ahead and voiced their opinion in the same way.
Neeraj, next couple of points. No proof of illegal investments in Adani firms and no investment laws violated by the Adani Group. What's the significance?
Yeah, again, fairly significant in that the allegations that were levied by Hindenburg and also, as your previous guest was suggesting, by some of the parties within India as well, kind of pointed to 1 or 2 points of this nature. The fact that this has been done away with, so to say, really kind of absolves the group of trying to do something in order to come out kosher. And I think that has been taken away. The only thing, Vishnu, sorry you even asked me this, but the only thing that is now left is for the SEBI to come out and talk about the ultimate ownership of the FPIs, which of course the committee's gone ahead and said that they haven't found anything untoward. They've seen the Adani Group's disclosures around the FPI ownership and they are happy with it. It might be very difficult to figure that out since the 2018 laws now don't release that information, but SEBI in its wisdom wants to go ahead and try and bring that out. So that's probably the only missing piece, but otherwise, on almost all other counts that have been particularly damaging, Vishnu, I think this is for Adani Group investors as well as for the group music to the ears.
The Adani Group, is this related to what you're saying, Neeraj, when the Supreme Court panel says the Adani Group has highlighted the names of owners who have profited?
Well, no, that's separate now. Okay. That's a completely separate issue. But more importantly, the FPI ownership, the 13 FPIs, which a lot of people have alleged that there is linkage to the group per se, or there may be linkage and a lot of allegations out there. The panel says that they are happy with the disclosures that the group has made. Yes, SEBI will come back. But Vishnu, for all market participants who look at this and who worked in international banks, say that since 2018, now that the laws have changed, it is very difficult to try and figure out the ultimate beneficial owners, because even the laws don't allow that for now. They may change from September, but for now, it might be difficult.
Then there's this other point with and I'm quoting from the report, the Enforcement Directorate has found intelligence about potentially violative and concerted selling by specific parties ahead of the publication of the Hindenburg Group. So would I be wrong in asking, is this not a conspiracy? It's one thing to say that I am the Hindenburg Group, I have come out with this report, I have identified myself as a short seller, therefore I am no longer a fraudulent participant, I am not doing fraud, I have said what I am and this is what I have said. But the moment the Enforcement Directorate says there is information that even before this report there was concerted selling by specific parties, is this not evidence of some sort of a financial conspiracy? Is that interpretation right?
Well, so short selling, not though prevalent as much in India as in a global way, is a fairly acceptable practice. And a lot of people will say that it's actually maybe even healthy for the market in some sense. But yes, from an Indian perspective, most of the transactions were carried outside India as per Hindenburg's own admission, if I'm not wrong. The only thing that, Vishnu, and it's an interesting point that you make, we're putting out an interview with with Mohandas Pai. And in some sense, he's made this point as well, Vishnu, what you're alluding to, that it will be very interesting to figure out if parties within India have profiteered or benefited, quote unquote, out of something like this. I don't want to spill too many beans, but he kind of made this thing and he's urging SEBI to try and figure out if that is something that has happened and should those parties be taken to task.
Okay. And therefore, what the panel has said is that there must be a probe as far as short sellers are concerned after the Hindenburg report, beyond what SEBI does. Is that stating the obvious? Because that's what SEBI would be doing in any case.
Yeah, it is stating the obvious. SEBI would be doing that, presumably already doing that, and I'm sure a lot of urges will come in now that this report has come out to try and figure out if there are indeed other beneficiaries which would have done this in a wrong fashion. Keep in mind, retail investors' ownership actually increased post the Hindenburg saga in the Adani Group stocks. So in some sense, while they may have panicked and some bit of losses would have happened, might still have happened because the share prices are much lower than what the prices were back then. But it's an interesting development for sure. Vishnu, sorry, just before you let me go, I just want to make one small point out here. And that is something that I'm picking up from equity watchers, is this, that now after the Hindenburg saga, the series of developments that have happened to instill confidence in equity shareholders' minds, one, yes, that they got such a large global shareholder or investor in GQG to put such a large sum of money. The Q4 results that have come out from the well-tracked Adani Group stocks have all come out almost as per line with what fundamental analysts believe. The group itself has said that they want to raise some money and they would have some confidence about what they will be able to do for them to make that statement. And now the icing on the cake is this report. So from an equity shareholder's perspective per se, which is invested in the Adani Group, whether the promoter or the minority shareholder, this should be very good news.
In fact, what you are referring to are mitigating measures taken by the Adani Group after all of this has happened to try and build confidence in various stocks. Final question. I know you need to run. All of us journalists need to run, don't we? How important is that interview with the Mauritian minister, who supervises regulatory processes in their country, when he says that, look, if you make these allegations about the Adani Group and alleged shell companies, you are raising questions on how the financial structure network in my country operates, and I am telling you that doesn't exist. There is no fraud in my country. We are internationally monitored and regulated. How important is that statement?
Vishnu, you should have guessed by the number of times that we at DQ Prime played your interview that it is indeed a very important interview. I mean, a lot of market participants eventually got back and said that this is actually a big thing, because the big question mark aside of price manipulation was every single point of time that who is the ultimate beneficial ownership, and Mauritius is being used as a place from where all of these things would be done. And for that, for the authority, the most competent authority per se from that space to come out and give us, or give you rather, which all of us heard this, give you this statement about everything is crystal clear is actually a really big statement. The fact that it happened just at that time was significant, and it was evident by the way markets took note of that vision.
All right, thanks very much, Dheeraj, for sharing those details with us. What we're going to do, and we'll come back and chat with you much more to try and understand what the implications of all of this are. But I think it is important to tell our viewers that there will be a SEBI report as well. That SEBI report is going to come out in the next couple of months. Perhaps SEBI will ask for an extension, but eventually there will be a SEBI report. We'll be looking very closely at that once it comes out as well. At this stage, and I've been speaking to lots of experts on this over the last hour or so, let's just listen in to what they've said. Joining us now, the former Executive Director of SEBI, Mr. Jain Gupta. Mr. Gupta, what is your preliminary reading of the Supreme Court expert panel's report?
See, although I have not gone through the detailed report, but I have just glimpsed through it, and I would say the only thing that is still pending to be cleared is the ownership structure. And beyond that, I think the report very clearly says that there has been nothing as far as the remit of the committee was there. Because the committee's remit was not there, whether there was any accounting issues or not. That was not the part of the committee. The committee had 4 or 5 points of their remit, and they have examined everything. And as far as ownership is concerned, they have very clearly said, and it gels very well what SEBI has already said, that they have written to 13 various jurisdictions for details, and those details are still awaited. So except that point being clarified, almost everything has been clarified, and it is clear that no violation has been found as of now.
No, so I think it's a complete clean sheet really, based on what I've read. I've only seen the summary, but they seem to have almost minimum promoter holding manipulation and the charge of the charge of opaqueness. I think they've given them. They've said that they've not found any prima facie case of any of these three violations. So again, it's still at a prima facie state. So it will be subject to what SEBI does over the next, I guess, 3 months till August 14th. So, but I think it's looking good for the Adani Group, is what we say.
Yeah, good afternoon. Well, I think this report is basically asking SEBI to complete the investigation regarding the charges which have been levied on the whatever the Hindenburg report is all about. So frankly, I think this report has done its own due diligence, and in that due diligence, I think they say that they have not found anything wrong, which has basically been disclosed by Adani Group in so far public domain. So that part I think is coming out very clear, and I don't think that if there is any ambiguity in the report on that front. Maybe I think the details are required to be obtained by SEBI on the whatever the charges that the Hindenburg has levied on the group, and whether I think they are substantiated. If they are not substantiated, then probably I think we'll have to wait till the report comes out.